தென்னாடுடைய சிவனே போற்றி எந்நாட்டவர்க்கும் இறைவா போற்றி. O Lord Shiva, who resides from the south, you are the God who rules the entire universe. My respects to the Koilur Swamigal and to all those reverend who are present over here. Ladies and gentlemen, talking of temple tourism from Tirupati is like selling laddus in Tirupati or selling alva in Tirunelveli. Everybody has talked much about tourism. We've seen a lot of figures about tourism all through these days. So let me take you on the fundamental principles on which temples were built. And that will be the key answer to temple tourism. Temples were built on three important fundamentals. One, by mythology. When I say mythology, Lord Rama realized where he has to be born, and he was born in Ayodhya. Goddess Meenakshi decided to be born as a daughter of the Pandya king in Madurai. And so a temple was erected, Meenakshi temple at Madurai. So the mythology determines where the temples were formed. Like which, the other determinator for temples is spirituality. Everybody has got their own Ishta Devata, a Kula Devata, Ayana temple, a Karupar temple. Nagaratars have got a Nagara Sivan Koil in all their villages, the 9 clan temples, and likewise Gurus have their own temples which they have built. This is out of spirituality. The other component is history. Whenever kings ruled, the kings were mighty rulers, and they showed their might not by their valor, but by building huge temples in every place they ruled. King Rajaraja Chola or every other king, they have built huge temples to show that temples are the source of energy for the people. Temples determine how the people have to be ruled. Temples show how administration has to happen, and temples were the center of every kingdom. And with this, I take you on another point to ponder and think about. In those days, there were fights that happened between different rulers. One used to fight against the other kingdom to take over that kingdom, and kingdoms expanded. One Chola king used to fight the Pandya, Pallava used to come over here. There used to be fights between different rulers. And whenever the kingdoms exchanged, another rule formed. The temple never got destroyed. The temple was built bigger than the other king. One portion of the temple, even now in history, in inscriptions it is mentioned, one part was built by the Cholas, the other part was expanded by the Pandyas. Vice versa. Nobody has looted the temple, because in our Hinduism, we have a principle, a philosophy which says, Sivan Sottu Kula Nasam. We will not touch the wealth of the temple. We will only increase the wealth of the temple. And now, I take you on to another portion of history that everybody should also think about. This part comes in 1310 AD, the year 1310. When the Mughals ruled, Alauddin Khilji was a ruler in Delhi, and he sensed that the south is shining in full glory, and the wealth was all in temples. Because the Hindu rule, the king used to believe that though the king was rich, the king used to believe that the ruling deity was more supreme, and all the king's wealth was with the god. The king was subservient to the god, to the main deity, the principal deity. So all the wealth was with the temple. So what Alauddin Khilji did, he deputed his lieutenant Malik Kafur to come for an attack in Tamil Nadu, where he sensed a lot of wealth was hidden in temples. The first attack was in Chidambaram temple. A lot of bounties were looted from the Chidambaram Nataraja temple. Then he went to Madurai. In Madurai, there was a tough fight between both the Pandya kings. The Pandya, Sundara Pandyan and Veera Pandyan, they were fighting against Malik Kafur on two ends, one on the frontier and one safeguarding the temple. The one in the frontier, Sundara Pandyan, lost his hold and he was captured, while Veera Pandyan tried to give him a tough fight and reduce the troops of Malik Kafur, and eventually a compromise was struck where Malik Kafur extracted 96,000 gold coins from Madurai Meenakshi temple, a lot of wealth, and one condition was that the king should give all the elephants and the horses. Why do you think so? The Malik Kafur wanted so many elephants and horses to transport the loot that he has taken. That much of loot they have looted in those days. And coming to Srirangam in 1310, he looted a lot from Srirangam, only to realize in 1323, the Srirangam had rebuilt the empire. The Srirangam temple became even more richer. So what happened in 1323, the same Alauddin Khilji deputed his another lieutenant, Ulugh Khan, to come to Srirangam to loot Srirangam once more, just in a span of 12 years after the first loot. This time, the kings were not there to protect, but who protected Srirangam was a story that history we should learn, we should understand. There were 15,000 Vaishnavites and devotees in Srirangam at that point of time. They sensed that the attack is going to happen. The 15,000 people cordoned Srirangam temple and prevented the Islamic forces from entering the temple. And in 3 days, they managed that blockade for 3 days. Within the 3 days, they built a wall covering the main principal deity Sri Ranganathar, and the Utsavar, Alaghia Manavala Perumal, the Utsavar, the golden Utsavar from the temple, who was supposed to go on a procession on that eve. They prevented him from going on a procession. They hid him, and meanwhile, another tactics was also followed. Vellayammal, a Devadasi, a dancer in the temple, she seducted the Islamic commander, took him to the top of a temple tower and embraced him and pushed him down, and she also committed a suicide just to close that particular event, just to prevent the attack on the temple. This is also a part of history. And what happened to the Utsavar, Alaghia Perumal over there, after that incident? He was taken on a Alaghia Manavala Perumal. He was taken from Trichy. He came to Kodikulam in Madurai. From Madurai, he is taken to Kerala. From Kerala, he goes to Karnataka. And from Karnataka, he comes to a place called Chandragiri, which is none other than where we are all now in Tirupati, Temple Connect. From Tiruchi, Srirangam to Chandragiri, Tirupati, Temple Connect in those days. And how many years was he kept over here? In all, 48 years. 48 years. 48 days is called one mandalam. This is 48 years of exile for Alaghia Manavala Perumal. And after 48 years, just imagine the sacrifice. 15,000 people have died over there to prevent this incident from happening. 15,000 people have given their lives to save Perumal. A lady has committed suicide over there to save Perumal. And all these years, they have been doing pujas to Perumal, not just hiding him, but they've done all the rituals. They have not taken their food. They've all stayed in such dense forests, not like today. They were staying in 1323. Just imagine, 1323 till 1371. Perumal was brought back to Srirangam as Nam Perumal. That is our God, our Lord. He was brought back in 1371 to Srirangam. I'm telling this part of history because many people go to temple, just pray and come to the Almighty to give you everything. Yes, that is right. But when we go to temple, let us also understand the sacrifices and the people who have built such temples, the sacrifices made by people to prevent such invaders from coming in. Let us also give them our prayers. And today, the temple that I'm talking about in Srirangam is the world's largest temple. The world's largest temple with 155 acres of land, 21 cobrams, and that one cobram where The lady Vellayammal committed suicide is colored in white. It's called Vellai Koburam. Today also you can see that Koburam. When you go there, offer your prayers over there to the lady who sacrificed her life. And that temple has got so many 81 shrines also within the temple. It's a massive temple. And like this, there are so many temples throughout the south, which are historical temples. Every temple, if you dig into it, there will be a history behind it. Let us go in search of the history of the temples. Let us unearth that component. Let us try to convey that subject to the people. By knowing the history of a temple, knowing how it was built, automatically temple tourism will happen. And for an example, God has always got a power, a chakra, an energy behind the God. 20 years back, Tiruvannamalai temple had crowds only during the Girivalam time. 20 years back. Today, Tiruvannamalai, Annamalayar is considered to be the next line of Tirupati. They're saying that Tiruvannamalai is going to become the next Tirupati. So much of crowd throughout the year is coming to Tiruvannamalai. Like this, automatically there is a chakra, there is an energy behind every deity. Let us go in search of that chakra, how it was built, and the history behind it, and that eye will open, and each temple in each village, in each town, in each part of the thing, the temple will open up, and the future is for the Indian temples. The Westerners, I'm seeing Japanese coming in search of Indian temples. I'm seeing the French tourists coming in search of Indian temples because they believe that this is where the real peace is there, the real satisfaction is there, the real energy is there in Hindu temples. And I pray to Almighty for all well-being to everybody. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you.